For decades now, there's been an organ shortage crisis in the United States. There are currently about 105,000 people on the national transplant wait list. So to give you an idea, this is enough people to fill Vaught Hemingway Stadium 1.6 times. So this large number of people remains on the wait list in spite of the fact that last year over 48,000 transplants were made, and this is a record-breaking figure. The one-year mortality rate of people who remain on the wait list is 36%, and the five-year mortality rate is 69%. So every day, 17 people die awaiting transplants, and every 8 minutes, another person is added to the list. Data suggests that we could be saving more lives using a new form of organ procurement called normothermic regional perfusion. But although this method of procurement is believed to have various medical advantages, it's been ethically controversial. The main objection to this procedure alleges that it kills the donor in the process of retrieving their organs. This objection has been endorsed by the American College of Physicians, who recommends a freeze on the procedure nationwide while ethical controversies are addressed. As an ethicist, I believe that this controversy is misplaced, and I'm going to argue that we should be using this procedure to save more lives. So, what does regional perfusion involve? Well, in its controlled form, it involves donors who are imminently dying and who have a do not resuscitate order in their charts. So when these donors lose circulation, their doctors wait for 5 minutes. If they don't regain circulation during this window, they're determined to be dead based on circulatory criteria. At this stage, surgeons from the organ procurement team block arteries that lead to the brain, often by clamping them shut, and then reinitiate circulation within the chest and the abdomen. This allows the procurement team to monitor the functioning of the organs while they're still inside of the donor's body and before they're retrieved for transplantation. The objection alleges that by clamping arteries that lead to the brain, surgeons prevent blood from reaching the brain after they reinitiate circulation within the chest and the abdomen. By doing this, it is argued these surgeons cause brain death to occur. So, in light of this objection, the American College of Physicians argues that procurement teams should be using a different form of procurement instead. And this is called normothermic machine perfusion instead of regional perfusion. This procedure actually begins in exactly the same way as regional perfusion. First, the donor loses circulation. Second, their doctors wait for 5 minutes. And if they don't regain circulation during this window, they're determined to be dead, once again using circulatory criteria. So it's important to emphasize these donors are determined to be dead at the same time as donors are determined to be dead in regional perfusion and using the same criteria. But at this stage, instead of blocking arteries that lead to the brain or reinitiating circulation in the chest and abdomen, surgeons flush organs with a cold preservation fluid and immediately retrieve them for transplantation. At this stage, they're stored outside of the donor's body and inside of a machine which perfuses them with oxygenated blood and preserves them for transplantation. So, to the American College of Physicians, there is no perception that this procedure kills donors. And that's because surgeons don't need to block arteries that lead to the brain before surgically removing them. So, in light of this controversy, why not just fold and say, we want to keep everyone happy, we'll just use machine perfusion instead of regional perfusion. Machine perfusion is much less controversial after all. Well, the answer is that regional perfusion is believed to have various medical advantages over machine perfusion. First, as I said before, it allows the procurement team to monitor the functioning of the organs while they're still inside of the donor's body, This allows them to more effectively determine whether they're viable for transplantation, and it leads to organs being used for transplantation that would otherwise have to be discarded. Second, it also allows surgeons to take both the heart and the liver from the same donor, whereas machine perfusion typically does not allow this. Let's revisit the objection to regional perfusion. We've seen that it has various medical advantages, so why is it controversial? Let's reassess this objection. So the objection says that by clamping arteries that lead to the brain, surgeons kill the donor in regional perfusion. Okay, now this objection is actually puzzling for reasons that might have already occurred to you. By the time that arteries are blocked in regional perfusion, the donor has already been determined to be dead. In fact, they've been determined to be dead at the same time as donors are determined to be dead in machine perfusion and using the same criteria. This means that at the same time that surgeons are blocking arteries in regional perfusion, they're removing vital organs from the body in machine perfusion. It makes no sense to say that regional perfusion kills and then to turn around and deny that machine perfusion does the same thing. Now, opponents of regional perfusion have a reply to this objection. This reply is based on what's called the permanence criterion. And the permanence criterion says that someone is dead as long as they have lost circulation and they will never regain it. Now, according to this criterion, donors really are dead by the time that they're determined to be dead in machine perfusion. They've lost circulation, and no doctor has any intention of resuscitating them because this would violate their DNR, their do not resuscitate order. On the other hand, by the time that donors are determined to be dead in regional perfusion, the permanence criterion does not imply that they're actually dead. This is because surgeons intend to reinitiate circulation within the chest and abdomen after blocking arteries that lead to the brain. Although these donors have lost circulation, they haven't lost it permanently. And so the argument goes, donors are genuinely dead when they're determined to be dead in machine perfusion, but still alive when they're determined to be dead in regional perfusion, even though death is determined at the exact same time in either procedure. Now, the problem with this argument is that this permanence criterion that underlies it is false. And to see this, I want you to imagine a hypothetical scenario involving a fictional mathematician. Let's call him Smith. Let's suppose that Smith is imminently dying and he has a do not resuscitate order in his charts. And let's suppose that Smith loses circulation and his doctors wait for 5 minutes and he doesn't regain circulation during this window. Now, at this stage, no doctor has any intention of resuscitating Smith, and this is because to do so would be to violate his DNR. But let's suppose that, if some overzealous doctor was to rush into the hospital and attempt to resuscitate Smith anyway, against his wishes, thereby violating his DNR, that they could in fact not only cause Smith to regain a heartbeat, but they could cause him to regain enough neurological functioning that he could resume his research in mathematics. He could continue to solve very difficult math problems. Now, the permanence criterion implies that Smith is dead. But surely this is absurd. If Smith could regain the ability to solve very difficult math problems, he isn't dead. So, it's safe to conclude from all of this that if regional perfusion kills donors, then so must machine perfusion. Once again, at the same time that surgeons are blocking arteries in regional perfusion, they're simply removing vital organs from the body in machine perfusion, including hearts. There is no way that blocking arteries kills, but removing someone's heart from their body doesn't. So where do we go from here? Do we just abandon both procedures on the grounds that both of them might cause some donors to die? No, I think that this is the wrong way to go. I think what should stand out to us is, first of all, that by the time that either procedure commences, donors have lost consciousness and they will never regain it because they've clearly stated their wish not to be resuscitated. Second, the procurement process needs to begin as soon as possible to preserve the viability of organs for people who badly need them, and also to honor the wishes of the donor not only to donate organs, but to donate healthy, effective organs that will actually save lives. And finally, by the time that either procedure commences, the donor has lost circulation. This means that by blocking arteries or removing organs from the body, surgeons actually aren't preventing any blood from reaching the brain that would otherwise have reached it. There's no circulation in the body anyway. While both procedures may cause death in some technical sense, neither one causes it to occur any sooner than it would otherwise. These are the reasons why the medical community rightly approves of machine perfusion, and they're the reasons why it ought to approve of regional perfusion as well. Although it takes courage to re-examine long-standing moral rules like the one that says that surgeons may never causally contribute to the death of a donor in the process of procuring organs, we owe our courage to the 105,000 people on the national transplant wait list who need our help. Thank you.